Hello, today we're going to be making a chicken pasta salad. So this one's going to be fairly simple. We're going to boil some pasta, we're going to cook some chicken, we're going to add veggies and onions, and then we're going to add like a dressing. And that's it. So for like the pasta salad part of it, we're going to need pasta. I'm using bow ties, you can use whatever like small pastas. A chicken breast. We only had one, I would recommend like 2 if you're making for the whole family. Garlic powder, salt, pepper, olive oil, some grape tomatoes or cherry tomatoes, spinach, and feta cheese that's in like the crumbles. Mine has herbs in it, but this is feta cheese. And then also a red onion, and if you have some, then dill. It's an herb. And that's what's going to go in the pasta. And then for the dressing, we're going to have more olive oil, some red wine vinegar, that's what this is, Italian seasoning, so it's like an herb blend, and then minced garlic, which mine is already like pre-sliced in a jar, and then salt and pepper. So yeah. We're going to start by making the pasta. So you're going to take a large pan, fill it up a little under halfway with water, and then we're going to boil that. Alright, so here I have my pot that's filled with water. I'm going to turn on the stove. For my gas stove, you press, turn to light, and then it goes on. It might be a little bit different for an electric stove, so I'll have my parent show you how that works. But we're just going to let the pasta water heat up until it's boiling, and it's boiling when there's big like bubbles in the water. Alright, so while my pasta is boiling, I'm going to start prepping the vegetables and stuff. So I'm starting with tomatoes. I'm just cutting these into like quarters until they're in like little pieces like this. So just slicing once down the middle and then once down the other direction, like so. And then that's all I'm doing for the tomatoes until I have like a big pile of them here. And then we're going to rinse off the spinach and cut that into pretty big pieces. So I'm just going to take off all the spinach that I need and run it under the water to get off the dirt, if there is any, and then we're just going to slice it maybe in half. Alright, so once you've rinsed your spinach, it's going to be really wet, so shake it out in the sink to get off some of that excess water, and then we're just going to pick out the leaves and cut them a little bit until they're in smaller pieces. Mine are really big. That's going to be too much for this. So a leaf like this size would be okay. I'm going to cut once more though until we're at like this size. And I want a pretty big pile, about 2 cups. So once my water starts to look similar to this with all the bubbles, and you can see this is what we call boiling, and that's when you're ready to put it in the pasta. So now that my water's boiling, I'm just going to take my bow tie pasta, open it up, and pour in everything that I'm going to use into the pot. Be careful, it might splash, so don't burn yourself. Once your pasta's poured in, take a fork and stir it around. You're going to want to do this continuously so you don't get any pasta hardened on the bottom. Once your pasta's in the pot, make sure that all of the pasta is submerged in the water. If it's not, it won't cook evenly. So if you don't have enough water, you can get a cup and just add some more. Make sure your water fully covers the pasta. We're just going to wait until it comes back to a boil and then turn down the heat and let it cook for about 10 minutes. Okay, once my water returns back to this like boiling foaminess, that's when we can start to turn it down. So turn just a little bit. You're going to want it to stay this way but not start to boil over. You don't want the water to go over the edge of the pot. So make sure you give it a quick stir with a fork or a spoon, and then you're good to go. Make sure you keep stirring periodically every 2 minutes or so the whole time. Okay, I now have a giant pile of my spinach and tomatoes that have been cut up. Now it's time to move on to red onion. So you're going to want to cut a red onion into quarters, so once and then again down the middle until you have a piece like this. You're going to want to peel off that outermost layer of the skin until we get to like this part of the onion. You're going to chop off the little ends that may be like yellow. And then we're ready to slice the onion. You're going to want to slice down the middle and then across. Make sure you're really careful with your hands as you do this, and just make small, fine slices down. Let's see if I can tilt so you can see it. Just gonna make small little slices down our onion. And then we're gonna tilt and slice the other way. And this is gonna get us tiny little pieces of red onion. I might not need it all, but I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it up anyways, and we'll see how much I need. Again, just make small little slices, watch out for your fingers. If you get too close to the end, just don't worry about it. You don't wanna cut off a fingernail. All right, so once we have these little pieces, we'll be good to go. Make sure don't touch your eyes because they might start to burn. Wash your hands. All right, I have all my veggie prep done. My pasta is about halfway done cooking, and now I can start on my chicken. So you're gonna need to get a skillet. It just has to be bigger than the piece of chicken that you're using. This is mine. We're going to, before we do anything, oil the pan and then season the chicken on the skillet, turn on the skillet, and cook our chicken. Remember, before you start on anything with the chicken, wash your hands before, after, during. Don't touch anything else after you've been handling chicken because the risk of getting sick from it is pretty high. So make sure you wash your hands very well. And don't reuse utensils. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is pour about half a tablespoon of oil into our pan, just so that it can cook, and then we're gonna put the chicken on top. Using a fork, I'm gonna transfer my chicken breast onto the pan, and then we're gonna season that with the garlic powder, salt, and pepper, and then flip it over, do the same thing on the other side, and then we're gonna turn on the burner and start cooking the chicken. All right, so my chicken has the garlic powder, salt, and pepper. It looks like this. I'm gonna use my fork to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. All right, my chicken is seasoned on both sides. At this point, we can turn on the burner. We're gonna turn it on a medium heat and wait for the chicken to cook. It should take about 8 minutes on each side, meaning we're gonna flip in the middle. All right, after about 10 to 13 minutes, your pasta should be done. Stick a fork in it and make sure it's the right amount of softness. Yeah, and then you can turn off your burner and get a strainer. This is a strainer. It's so that when you pour the water into the pot, into the strainer, it goes into the sink. So you're gonna go ahead and put that in the sink so that you only have one thing to hold on to, and then, yeah. Once my strainer's in my sink, I'm gonna take my pot, now the stove's turned off. I'm gonna pour it into the strainer with the water away from me so that I don't burn myself. All right, so once you strain your pasta, go ahead and put it back in the pot and just stick it somewhere to wait until the rest of your stuff is done. And now we're gonna start on the dressing. Now that our chicken is cooking, this is all we have to do. So, to make the dressing, we're just gonna mix together pretty much all of our ingredients, and then we're good. I'll walk you through that. All right, for our dressing, we're gonna first need a little under a quarter cup of olive oil. So I would do about 3 tablespoons. Next, you're gonna need 2 tablespoons of the red wine vinegar. And just a shake of your Italian seasoning. It says about half a teaspoon, so that should be good. Lastly, we're gonna add our garlic. For garlic, you can get like fresh garlic cloves, but they're kind of a pain to chop up. So what my family likes to do is just get jarred garlic, and it's already chopped up for you, and then you can just a spoon and take out however much garlic you need. We're gonna need about a teaspoon for our dressing. So that'll be about this much garlic. We're just gonna plop it in there with our vinegar, oil, and Italian seasoning. Give it a stir, and that's it for the dressing. Okay, I forgot to mention one thing, and that's to salt and pepper your dressing, and then you're actually done. That's just gonna go with the oil, the garlic, seasoning, and vinegar. And then everything except for the feta cheese can be put away. All we're doing now is waiting on the chicken to cook so that we can assemble everything. What we're looking for in cooked chicken is for it to be this white that you're seeing on the bottom, but I don't want it to start to come up just above the bottom of the chicken, and then we know we're about halfway done and we can flip. So probably 1 or 2 more minutes and then we'll be good. Alright, at this point you can see that the chicken is starting to turn white above the bottom, and that's when it's time to flip. So just take your fork, turn your chicken over, and let it cook for about the same amount of time on the other side. What we're looking for is for everything to be white, and when we cut into it, for it to be that same white color. We don't want any pink left over. When you think your chicken might be done, make sure you cut it in half, as I've done here. And you can see that mine wasn't done. It may be on the top, but in the bottom you can still see a lot of pink. And it hasn't gotten to that like flaky, stringy kind of texture like it is in the top. You want it to be really like fibrous. Okay, hello. Real quick, one tip on cooking your chicken. Mine, I noticed after quite a while that it just wasn't getting any more cooked. It wasn't pink on the outside, but there was still just a little bit of pink in the middle, and it wouldn't have been safe to eat. So one thing you can do is cut it down the middle, hamburger style, until you're in 2 separate pieces of thin chicken, and that'll cook a whole lot faster. So that's something you can do once you're to the point that it's close to done, but it's just not getting there, and then that'll help speed the process along. And then once your chicken is cooked, you can shred it, as I've done in the next photo. Okay, once your chicken is shredded, mix everything together and add your feta. That's all. Hope you enjoyed.